everyone. This is KLMeri.
And this is Soda.
We've returned after celebrating our 50th episode last time. So now, episode 51 takes us to a review of 2 episodes where we left off with New Voyages. So it's really a 2-parter episode, kind of put together, called Blood and Fire.
Blood and Fire, yeah. Interesting tidbit about this episode. Originally, this was pitched to the Next Generation, to be an episode on the Next Generation. It was written by the same guy that wrote Trouble with Tribbles. And it was supposed to feature the first gay couple on the Next Generation, on Star Trek in general, but on the Next Generation in particular.
Mhm.
And the producers, by what I've understood, mostly Rick Berman, were against doing this episode. The episode also includes kind of an allusion to the AIDS crisis, which, in the late 80s was really, really bad. It was really, really bad. Um, the producers didn't want to take the risk of making a controversial episode, and so the the team on Star Trek New Voyages decided to take this script and work with it.
That's interesting. So it got put into essentially Star Trek Phase 2
Yeah,
instead of the next gen.
yeah,
I noted there were 2 writers on this episode.
yeah.
So which one was the one who wrote Tribbles?
David
Trouble with
Gerald.
Tribbles?
David Gerald.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's the one I noted because he's written a lot of sci-fi
Yeah.
in general and not just Star Trek.
Yeah, originally,
Yeah.
from what I understood from what he said, originally they just asked him to use the script, and he said yes, but he didn't want to be involved in the actual shooting of
Mm.
the show. But then he saw the production coming along, and he decided to help them with rewrites, and eventually he actually directed the episode.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. He
Um,
said he had a very positive experience working on the episode with the team. He
well,
said they were very
that's good.
professional. Yeah, he said they were very professional and they are very respectful of the source material.
I think I can kind of see that. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So, the title of this episode, when I pulled it up to watch it, said it was Blood and Fire, the movie.
Yeah, me too.
But technically, it's supposed to be episode 4 and 5 together. But there's not really a distinction like where one episode ends and the other one starts.
Yeah.
Um, it's
Um yeah,
basically just an hour and a half episode.
that's true. Yeah, it's basically a two-parter that was put together into a single episode. I think we can kind of compare it, in the original series to what became of the Cage, the two-parter of the Menagerie.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think the difference is because of the way 60s television worked. You couldn't exactly go back and watch the previous episode whenever you wanted, so the first few minutes of the second episode kind of recapped the last episode for you.
Yeah.
This doesn't happen here because, well, it's a web TV show, so they know you can actually go back and watch the previous parts, so they don't bother with doing that. They do actually, in the scripts, in the show, in the episodes themselves, they do kind of make breaks that would, on a regular TV show, would be like commercial breaks.
Yeah, they
Um,
do. They go to black.
yeah, so one of those commercial breaks was basically the break between the episodes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess that makes sense. I mean, I don't think I saw where the break would be, but it doesn't matter to me because it was entertaining enough to just flow all the way through for the hour and a half, and so yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and honestly, you can just pick any point kind of in the middle and put it anywhere you want. I think I read that the original break was between when Well, let's discuss the episode plot, and I'll tell you.
Well, I just also wanted to mention before the actual episode starts, there is a in memory of Major Barrett,
Mm,
Roddenberry's wife, and also actress on Star Trek,
yeah,
played Nurse Chapel, and voice of the computer, and many other things.
yeah.
So this was filmed, or this episode was created in the same year I think that she passed, so 2008.
Mm, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we open on kind of an action scene. The Enterprise is being chased by Klingons. They escape, but the ship was hit badly, and there's a lot of damage. And basically, as they assess the damage and start the repairs, we learn a few things. First thing we learn is that a new crew member joined the Enterprise. Peter Kirk, Captain Kirk's nephew,
As an ensign.
as an ensign. Yeah. Um, Kirk is very protective of his nephew. He is concerned that Peter isn't taking his duties seriously and that he sees it as a game. I'm not sure what he bases this worry on. I guess he's just kind of an overprotective guy. Maybe he remembers Peter more as a child rather than an adult.
I can't remember, were they clear on whether or not, or how Peter Kirk was transferred to the Enterprise as an ensign? I mean, I don't think Jim was involved in the decision, right?
No, I don't think he was.
Maybe he was worried that Peter wanted this assignment, which we later learned Peter did.
Well, I think Kirk is probably kind of thinking that Peter wanted the assignment because Peter is looking up to him. I think a lot of crew members kind of think that way.
Hmm.
Um, Peter
But there,
himself is upset. He doesn't like
yeah.
that.
Well, right. So the concern here is that there's there's a crew member on board who is family of the captain, and as in any situation, potential nepotism or unfair
Treatment.
advantages could occur from family members working in the same like in the same workplace. It's, I think, a natural kind of worry that other people would have, so it doesn't really surprise me that there's a even a concern from Kirk himself that others might interpret him as having a bias when it comes to his nephew. But at the same time, we see that there is a natural bias because he's worried about his nephew.
Yeah,
And so it's kind of like you can't avoid it. But what happens in the heat of the moment, and when it comes to giving out orders for etc., that's really what we're going to find out.
yeah,
That
and
interplay.
yeah, exactly. And the episode gives us a perfect example of this because as
Yeah.
the ship gets repaired, the Enterprise intercepts a distress signal from a scientific survey ship called the Copernicus. Um, as it happens, the Enterprise is the only ship in range. So despite the damage, they have to go on a rescue mission. The Copernicus seems to be on a kind of a suicide route, headed toward a star, and because the Enterprise is damaged, it can just tow it away. So Kirk tells Spock to prepare a list of an away party that will go to the Copernicus and find survivors. And when Spock suggests Peter join the away party, Kirk cancels it out. Kirk takes his name off.
Correct.
Yeah,
And replaces him with a medical technician
yeah,
who we later learn is important to the plot.
yeah. Actually, we learn exactly. exactly immediately afterwards, the technician is called Alex Freeman, and it turns out to be Peter's boyfriend. And the reason Peter wanted to transfer to the Enterprise, he wanted to be with his boyfriend. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
And what's interesting is right before where we kind of learned their relationship, we had seen Peter Kirk had like a bruise, right? He was a little bit injured from the firefight and he was getting treated by Freeman in sick bay. And I took note that, Dr. McCoy was being very gruff at the time,
yeah,
was really ragging on Freeman for like spending so much time on a guy with a bruise when there are other who were more seriously injured. And he's like, look, he's like, don't spend so much, he's like, treat Peter like any other crewman.
yeah,
Stop dawdling over there or whatever you're doing. Um,
yeah.
and I only took note of it because Bones's attitude was don't give anybody preferential treatment because they happen to be
Related
the
to the
nephew of the
captain.
captain.
Yeah,
But we then immediately learn, a couple of scenes later, that Freeman was probably worried about his boyfriend.
yeah,
So, and in fact, he was so worried he came to check on him.
yep.
And then we learned that Peter wants to get married.
Peter thinks that if he gets married to Freeman, then Kirk will see him as more adult, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he finally gets Alex. It's Alex Freeman to
yeah,
to say yes, and then Peter's excited and he's like, "I'm going to get my uncle to marry us after the mission."
yeah. And also Peter knows that Kirk took his name off the away team roster. And so before the away team leaves, he goes and confronts Kirk, and he tells him, first of all, he tells him off for taking his name off just because he's his nephew. And then he asks to marry Freeman, and I guess he kind of was right because when Kirk learns that he has basically, if they're not boyfriends, they're fiancés, I guess, at this point. When
Yeah,
Kirk learns that they are intending to marry, he does kind of sees Peter in a different light because he understands that Peter isn't just here because he idolizes him like a child. Um,
right.
so he does actually agree to let Peter join the away team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought it was quite interesting that Peter like showed up in the transporter room to
y-
challenge the captain
yeah,
in a very loud manner. He was basically like, don't give me the kid glove treatment.
yeah,
Why? How dare you take me off the roster? Um, and obviously Kirk relents, right? And after learning this fact, but then the other part of me went, is it a good idea to put the fiance couple together on an away mission, especially when one of them, at least one of them, is very young and inexperienced,
yeah. Honestly, yeah.
has never been tried in a situation where they have to put aside their personal feelings.
That's true. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that Alex seems to be the only medical personnel on the away team, and
Yeah.
Kirk had to tell Spock to put him there. Just, I guess that makes sense, actually.
Well, I mean, it's true. So where they're assuming there may be survivors on the Copernicus,
Yeah,
they can't figure out where they are, but if you have a ship that is in distress, obviously you should have a medical person on
yeah,
the away team. And
exactly.
usually not just a technician, right? It's
Yeah,
usually a doctor or a nurse.
yeah. I don't. Is he a technician or is he just? I'm not sure.
That's what they called him.
Okay. Because he does kind of treat people like very basic treatment. I mean, the
Yeah,
first
he
time we
to
see
me
him, he treats
he
Peter.
seems like a junior doctor to me. I'll put it that
Yeah,
way. I don't get the difference
exactly.
between a medical technician and a junior doctor. Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, so the team arrives on the Copernicus, and the
Well,
first thing
let's let's talk
yeah.
about who's on the team.
Well, there's
So
Peter and Alex, and there's Spock, obviously. Um,
there's Rand,
there's Rand.
there is DeSalle, and then there's also this other red shirted guy called Hodel.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when they arrive on the Copernicus, the first thing they encounter are wavicles, which are particles that display the behavior of both particles and waves.
I just
Um,
love that name. Sorry.
they
I don't know if
basically,
that's a real scientific thing, but I was like, wavicles?
yeah, yeah. They basically look like fireflies. Apparently they're very because of this quality of theirs, they're very unpredictable, and they attach themselves to crew members. The first
Yeah.
member who encounters them basically get attached to it. Um, the Copernicus looks kind of deserted and very damaged. Like they don't see anyone, and everything is broken. They get to the bridge, and the door to the bridge is welded shut.
Yeah.
When they pry their way inside, they find all the bridge crew dead, and all the consoles were blasted with phaser fire. Um, and when they analyze the bodies, they find them devoid of blood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is the point at which um basically like off screen Kirk and the bridge crew are watching. I like this, right? You can actually
yeah,
now see that they're kind of watching the scene as it unfolds on the Copernicus.
yeah,
So they're kind of getting the real time what's happening and seeing what their away team is seeing at the same time. Kirk automatically like he makes a connection. He thinks he knows
yeah,
what this is. McCoy's with him and they go off to the side to discuss that it may be Regillian bloodworms. And,
yeah,
sorry,
regular,
Regulin,
yeah, regular
Regulin
bloodworms.
bloodworms.
Yeah,
And right before that, Kirk had already asked Uhura to send a missive, a code 9 like relay to Starfleet Command. So obviously there's something very serious going on here. In the meantime, another survivor of the Copernicus makes his way onto the bridge of the Copernicus where the away team is, and he's yelling and screaming like, you shouldn't be here. You're all gonna die now.
yeah,
And it turns out that he feels like something is coming to get him, and he basically phasers himself
yeah,
out of existence. And at that point, they know that something is very seriously wrong, and that actually, when he phasers himself out of existence, all these like wavicles
mm-hmm,
disperse throughout the bridge and sort of infect the crew or
yeah.
the way team. So at that point, Spock, and Kirk both know that the away team is contaminated and cannot return to the ship.
Yeah, they tell us. Yeah, through Kirk's discussion, we learned a little bit more about regular bloodworms. They're very deadly creatures, as you may have guessed. They drain the body of blood, which obviously kills the person immediately. They can't be controlled. They can't be stopped. And according to Starfleet protocols, any place that is infected with them has to be quarantined and, if possible, destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From what we know, there should be no way to stop them from transforming after they've infected someone.
Yeah.
So it's like once they're in you, the wavicles, or what they call the
Yeah.
plasma mites, are
Yeah.
in you, they will become the bloodworms. And the bloodworms will come, obviously we'll see later, like really devour you. So it's an infestation that can spread quickly and with no cure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wavicles turn out to be like a sort of stage in the bloodworm life cycle, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah. So Kirk talks with Spock, and he hints about the situation, which Spock pretty quickly understands. And he instructs Spock to find and transmit the Copernicus logs before they have to destroy the ship with the settler with the crew inside. So
Correct.
Spock divides the team and tells them to go explore the ship to find those logs. while Peter and Hodel explore the ship, they encounter a swarm of mature bloodworms, which is, I mean, imagine going somewhere and looking at this and finding this thing that's like, uh,
Yeah, I mean, well, literally, Hodel like sticks his hand up in the wall panel,
yeah,
because they're looking for a way to access the main computer,
yeah,
and try to get a version of the logs that's not like destroyed
yeah,
or damaged. And they pretty much think they get something, but the moment they do, like out spews this wave of bloodworms. This just
y-
like, and they eat Hodel.
yeah,
It's awful.
yeah. Um,
Obviously, Peter's horrified.
yeah, Peter is horrified,
And
but he and
he
Alex manage to
escapes.
escape. Yeah, yeah, they escape. He finds Alex. They both run away. The bloodworms chase them. They
Yes.
find Spock. Spock manages to get the transporter working to transport him to a part of the ship, away from the bloodworms. They don't exactly know where they're going to transport, but when they do land, they find the survivors of the Copernicus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they try to seal themselves away doing the same method where they like weld this little place where the away team is stuck, but the bloodworms start to eat through the metal.
yeah,
Clearly, obviously, they cannot just devour organic life, but they can devour anything.
yeah,
um, and so
yeah. They have to transport away.
between Kirk and Spock, they decide, or really, I think Kirk kind of decides to transport the whole team to this area in the cargo bay where they have noticed that there are multiple layers of deflector shields that seem to be in this certain area. And they
Yeah,
think, well, if the deflector shields are the only things that can buy you some time between you and the bloodworms, that's where you need to go.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, they find the survivors, and two of the survivors, who call themselves Michael Blodgett and Jenna Yar, are doctors who claim to have found a cure for the Regulan bloodworms. As proof, they transmit a copy of the last copy of their research to the Enterprise.
Mhm.
Yeah. Jenna Yar is played by Denise Crosby, who on The Next Generation played Tasha Yar in the first season.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's another nice little cameo.
There were, let's say, over 100 people on the Copernicus, and what's left of the survivors in the cargo bay, there's about 15 who are alive,
Yeah,
and then plus the like 5 or 6 that come with the away team.
yeah,
Well, I guess we have to discount Hodel. He's gone. Um,
yeah. He was eaten.
so you have about 20 people who are running out of time. Obviously, the Copernicus crew that survived is already infected, and they are have less than a day before the bloodworms mature.
Yeah,
And then while the away team has a little more time, the deflector shields are also have been up and running for a while, and they don't have that much longer until the deflector shields can't hold back the army of
yeah,
bloodworms that
yeah,
will immediately, you know,
yeah. Pounce on
devour them
them.
all.
Yeah. So yeah, so on the Enterprise, McCoy receives the research and he looks it over. And while there are flaws in it, he manages to turn it into a cure with mild altercation. They need blood donations. Basically, they need to replace the sick person's, the infected person's blood entirely. And
It sounds like a very intense decontamination process. It's something like you chill the body all the way down, and then you have 60 seconds to like completely replace the blood in their body,
yeah,
and then inject them with some the cure, and keep your fingers crossed that they don't actually die.
yeah,
It's
um,
intense, and they can only do it about like a couple of people at a time. It can't be
Yeah.
done with all 20 people.
Yeah, because they don't have enough medical staff, they don't have enough medical equipment, and also they don't have enough blood because they only have, synthetic blood, and they didn't plan on replacing the entire blood in the bodies of like 30 people.
Right, and they had depleted a lot of that artificial blood because they had had injured crewmen from the firefight with the Klingon vessel.
Yeah.
So,
So of course, McCoy asks for donations from. He says he needs donate blood donations from around 72 people. And of course, Kirk and then the entire bridge crew volunteers to donate blood, and a lot of people volunteer. And this was part of the original script, kind of as a PSA to donate blood for for AIDS patients.
yeah.
Yeah,
We should probably mention that Kirk had already made it known to his bridge officers that he had the Code 9 directive, which meant they would essentially have to destroy the Copernicus with the away team on it.
yeah,
Kirk basically said, "Look, I'm going to follow the orders and then I'll resign right afterwards, and one of you will take command of the ship." Well, they all refused.
of course.
They refused, and he's like, "Okay, I guess we'll, pivot and try and come up with another way to save our people," which luckily then happened to be that research information that the doctors on the Copernicus still had a single copy of,
Yeah,
um, that McCoy could leverage. Kirk did not intend for anybody else to go over to the Copernicus and get themselves infected, but naturally, Bones said he had to be over there in person to
yeah,
help facilitate the medical treatment, so that they could transport the survivors back and complete the decontamination cure
process.
process.
Yeah. Yeah, so rescue mission is underway, and because it can't be just that simple, a Klingon ship arrives at the scene. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's headed by Karg, our good friend Karg, once again. And yeah, Kirk manages to talk with him. He explains the situation. Karg obviously doesn't, trust what Kirk has to say, so Kirk kind of he shares his view screen with Karg, shows him what's going on in the Copernicus. Um,
It, basically, what we learned at this point is the bloodworms
yeah,
are a universal threat. So it
yeah,
doesn't matter if you're in the Federation or your Klingon Empire or somewhere else. If they spread to your part of space, you're in trouble. So
yeah,
Karg recognizes what the real threat is, and he's basically his initial reaction is, well, now I got to destroy the Copernicus, and since you're under doing this away mission or this rescue mission, you might get yourselves infected. I'm going to destroy the Enterprise.
yeah,
I'm just going to take you both out.
yeah. But because the bloodworms begin their life cycle as those vehicles, it turns out that destroying the ship will actually just kind of recharge them because
It
of
will
the
recharge them, right? And they're next to a red giant,
yeah,
which means the red giant will then amplify those wavicles, and it will essentially multiply them
yeah,
and make a huge wave of infestation.
yeah. We also kind of find out that the bloodworms were actually originally created as a weapon, as a living weapon by the
Mm.
Regulans, but the Regulans weren't able to control them, so the bloodworms destroyed the Regulans.
I think this is why they were supposed to be contained to the Regulan star system.
Yeah,
Like like there are orders that really nobody should be going in that territory because of the potential, you could potentially get infected and then spread it to the rest of everywhere else. So it's also unusual that the Copernicus would have been in that part of space.
yeah,
And Kirk is very suspicious about what they had been up to, which, we begin to learn all is not as it seems.
yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, Yar and Blodgett, the head scientist on the Copernicus, were among the first to be transported and treated on the Enterprise. And Kirk and his crew kind of questioned them, what were you doing with those bloodworms, you know? And they act very suspicious.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
They were just there to try to find a cure, even though technically nobody in Starfleet should be authorizing that kind of mission. It's too dangerous. Um, and then in the meantime, we have Karg sitting back in his chair. He's decided to watch the spectacle unfold.
yeah,
He's given Kirk some time to complete the rescue mission, but, as usual, he's Klingon, so Karg is thinking ahead to, regardless of the outcome of the rescue mission, he could still, potentially get the information on the cure and also get rid of the Enterprise at the same time. But I just love it because he's sitting there with his like basically steaming mug of something, and he's just got his legs crossed in his chair, and he's got his his woman next to him.
yeah.
And
Probably
they're
wrecked.
just
The mug is probably
so
wrecked to Gina.
entertained by basically like they're watching a theater act
Yeah,
unfold. So they're in the background, the waiting nemesis, um, and the rescue mission's underway. It
yeah.
gets down to the point where it's basically like
Peter,
Spock and
Alex, and Spock.
McCoy
Yeah.
and Peter and Alex.
Actually, it's McCoy. They kind of convince him to leave pretty easily. Basically,
Yeah,
it's left down to Peter, Alex, and Spock, and they all
yeah,
argue who should get beamed first or last.
yeah,
Actually, all of them want to beam last, and then Alex kind of pulls a very McCoy move and hyposprays Spock and Peter and forces them to leave before him.
right.
Yeah,
So Alex is the one left behind. It takes a little longer for Mr. Spock to his green blood to be
yeah,
replenished. So uh, Alex is on a very tight countdown between when he can get back to the ship safely.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and the deflector shield is starting to waver, and the bloodworms are very angry. It does not look good. Um, and basically,
and the bridge crew watch this unfold in real time.
yeah. And much like the crew member the earlier in the episode, um, as the bloodworms, breach the shield and begin pouring in, Alex prefers, phasering himself rather than letting the bloodworms get him.
Yeah,
Yeah, and Peter is watching, which is very brutal.
yeah.
Yeah,
So Peter's fiance Alex does not survive.
yeah. The Kirk family curse, I guess.
Basically, what they've come to understand is that the danger's not over.
Yeah,
Obviously, Kirk is trying to negotiate with the Klingons on, like, we don't need to, this is not the time to get into a fight. Why don't we try to work together to neutralize the threat of the bloodworms?
yeah, and also it tells them, that destroying the ship will just make the threat
Right.
worse.
It will make it worse. And also, they still don't have much time until the Copernicus falls
He's
into the
Yeah,
the red giant, and it in itself will still spread the infection.
yeah,
So they have to do something to try to neutralize the bloodworms. McCoy and Spock together, looking at the rest of the research, um, have figured out a cure, basically, or like what they call a, a catalyst
yeah,
element that will help the wavicles return to their natural state as opposed to like mutating into the bloodworms.
yeah. And, well, it's kind of taking the cure and spreading it to the bloodworms when they're outside of the host, but they need a
Yeah,
catalyst. They need a human catalyst, basically.
it
Spock,
has to be done through the blood that
yeah,
they infect. So it
yeah.
has to
So
be someone's blood.
yeah, so yeah. So Spock, for example, can't do it because he's not human.
Yeah, he can get infected, but he can't. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was trying to scratch my head on that one. He can get infected, but he can't spread the cure.
yeah,
Okay. um, so they need a human to do it,
yeah.
and becomes a question of who will be the volunteer.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Uhura manages to decode all the logs from the Copernicus that they managed to get. And it turns out that the Copernicus wasn't really on a research mission, or not exactly on a peaceful research mission. The
Hmm.
Copernicus very deliberately went into the regular system and found the bloodworms. They were meant to find a cure for the bloodworms, so they could basically use the bloodworms against the Klingons.
Yeah.
The original plan was to use the bloodworms against the Klingons while inoculating the humans, so that only the Klingons would be affected by the bloodworms. Basically by the bloodworms pandemic, I guess you could say.
Hmm. And Kirk is very upset about this. He's like, who would dare authorize, such a thing in Starfleet? And they're like, we're Section 31. But it turns out that Blodgett is extremely, uh, let's just say, a Klingon hater.
Yeah,
He said, the Klingons started the war, and who cares if we should just go ahead and wipe them out.
yeah. And he wants to continue the plan. He says this is the perfect
Yeah.
opportunity to continue this plan. Um, he even has like a vial with like a small vial with bloodworms vehicles that he's ready to unleash, essentially,
Hmm.
and he's threatening to unleash them on the Enterprise if anyone tries to apprehend him. But luckily, after a quick scuffle, Dr. Yar actually turns against Blodgett and manages to get the vial, and he is apprehended by the Enterprise crew.
Yeah. She manages to do that while Blodgett is distracted by watching Kirk try to talk his nephew out of killing Blodgett because he blames Blodgett for why Alex had to die.
Yeah. And Yar, for her part in this mission, Yar volunteers to, be the catalyst for the blood to destroy the bloodworms, and essentially fix the mistake that she helped cause. Um, Karg sees all this, and he's convinced that he should leave, and that's what he does. And then, basically everything wraps up pretty neatly. Yar does help stop the bloodworms. Um, Alex and Hodel get a space funeral. Um, and Captain Kirk asks Peter if he still wants to serve on the Enterprise, even though Alex is no longer there. And Peter say does wants to stay there because Alex wanted to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how it ends.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With a bunch of space butterflies.
a bunch of space
Basically,
butterflies. Yeah,
the Wavicles, now that they're no longer, mutating since they've been cured, are able to like combine with each other and create these beautiful space butterflies. And then they go into the red giant and create more. And
yeah,
they fly around and look so hopeful.
yeah,
Great.
yeah,
While everybody on the bridge watches. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So that's the episode.
I thought the pacing was good. When I got to the end of the hour and a half, I don't think I realized an hour and a half had passed.
Hmm.
It I was entertained pretty much from start to finish.
Yeah, I agree with
So,
you. It was a very enjoyable episode. Very engaging. I do
hmm.
have some criticisms.
Well, I did write down a few.
Yeah.
Also,
Well, I mean, I'll start with the good stuff. We have a
hmm.
new actor for Spock these episodes. The previous Spock actor from the other episodes didn't come back. The new Spock is pretty good, I think. He
His
gets
delivery is right.
yeah, he's very sassy, very very sassy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he's very good.
we still have the same McCoy. I will say he definitely had more of a presence in this set of episodes.
Mm-hmm.
He's quite antagonistic at certain points. They really played up the McCoy gruffness, and they let him curse a whole lot.
Yeah.
And even
Um,
made a point of saying that.
yeah. The Denise Crosby as Jenna
Mhm.
Yara, it was very kind of, very wink wink nudge nudge. At some point she even says that she has a daughter and that her full name is Dr. Jenna Natasha Yar. And she
Yeah,
has a daughter and she wants her daughter to remember her. That was very, yeah, we get it.
on the nose.
Yeah, your Tasha Yar's ancestor. We get it. We get it.
Yeah, yeah, we get it. They had the return of Karg. So Karg's been seen in the first couple of episodes of New Voyages.
Yeah,
Obviously, he's sort of like the stable Klingon, uh, like enemy that Kirk is going to encounter.
yeah.
Um, Played by John Kerrigan. I did note in the credits that the female Klingon that was basically kind of lovey-dovey with her Klingon captain was Anne Kerrigan. I'm gonna
Okay.
assume that's his wife.
Yeah, seems likely.
um, so or really he was reprising his role. Um, I looked it up because I knew I had seen John Kerrigan's name in other Star Trek stuff. He's not been in any of the main TV shows, but he's done some, we'll say, side Star Trek projects,
Hmm, nice.
like this fan series
Yeah.
as Karg.
Um. Yeah. Actually, that's when my criticisms kind of come in. The Klingon presence felt a little bit unnecessary. If you had taken them out, the episode wouldn't have suffered in any way. They mostly just kind of sat there and watched the show along with us and had kind of a
Mm-hmm.
commentary. They didn't really do anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought it was interesting that they let Kirk give a couple of speeches,
yeah,
basically the idealism that's behind the Federation. So when he got to that point where he's trying to convince the Klingons to, back off, he's like, let's, instead of always going to war, like, let's make peace and do this, that, and the other. And I'm like, that's a whole lot of good speech right now, Kirk, to like help your situation, but I don't buy it
yeah,
coming from you.
yeah,
A little too on the nose
yeah.
for just trying to convince the Klingons to back off. I do agree with you. If you cut out the Klingon scenes and that aspect of it, it doesn't really change the whole plot line with the
Yeah,
bloodworms and what Section 31 was attempting to do, and the fact that they needed to be stopped. The Klingons didn't have to be there to facilitate that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, this is a recurring problem with these episodes in general. The plot was very convoluted. Like when we talked about it now, it was streamlined, but I had to go and look up the episode synopsis to get it because I was confused at many points. Um,
What
maybe,
can what was one of the points that you were confused at?
I think when they, let's see. I think when they started talking about when they found when they found the survivors and they kind of started talking about everything that happened, I was kind of confused because they started calling the Wavicles plasmacytes, and I didn't
Oh
like,
yeah.
immediately understand that the plasmacytes and the Wavicles are the same thing, and they didn't really bother explaining it. It was kind of unclear what the Wavicles and the plasmacytes had to do with each other, and I had to look it up to find out, oh, they're the same thing. Um,
Uh, that's actually a good point. I assumed they were the same thing,
yeah,
and that they were just speaking in like Spock was like, "Ooh, look, Wavicles science thing," and
Yeah.
then the doctors come along and are like plasmomites. I'm like, okay, maybe that's just the medical version term. So I agree. That's kind of like it's kind of hard to follow some of the it in general
Yeah,
was kind of
that's
hard to follow some of the science. I don't understand how the Wavicles like transformed into the bloodworms in the blood. I don't I couldn't like connect the actual science behind it, even though they
yeah.
kind of explained it and how they could undo it. So
Yeah, that's a little that's that's I don't really care about that stuff because that's just like, regular Star Trek techno babble, whatever. If I have to buy
yeah,
the,
but
the
if you have
Wavicles turn
like
into bloodworms, okay, whatever.
but what I didn't get was okay, the carrier for the cure is in the and it's in the bloodstream.
Yeah.
The Wavicles or the plasmomites get into the bloodstream and they begin to, they go through a transformation. How did it also impact the already transformed bloodworms all over the ship? I, are they still like I don't
I think the point was that when they destroyed the ship, I think that the bloodworms kind of have an ability. I mean, I don't know, but I think that they have the
to go
ability to.
back to plasmites?
Yeah, I think they do. I think that's why they're unstoppable because like they keep doing the cycle.
But then you only have like the cured plasmomites would still have to like connect to the other ones. I don't know. I just know the scene was like she glowed and then her glowing like affected the bloodworms and they dissolved too.
Yeah,
I was like, and then the Copernicus went into the red giant and I was like, what's happening?
yeah. I don't know. I mean, as I said, that's less concerning for me. If they just said, "Okay, that's bad. That's
Yes.
what happens," so I'm like, "Okay, whatever. I'm going with it." But it confused me when they started to talk about plasmacytes instead of wavicles because I was like, "Wait, what are they even talking about? What are plasmacytes? What? When did we get plasmacytes?"
Can I also mention the other thing that like made me roll my eyes? um So this is when Peter has watched Alex die
Yeah,
and they're looking for a volunteer. Well, Peter comes onto the bridge and obviously he says I'll volunteer and Kirk gets upset about it. Kirk goes, Peter, you're not in your right mind. You're grieving right now. And then Fontana, the nurse,
yeah.
she goes, "Well, actually, I've scanned him, and he's physically and mentally like well." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"What?
Yeah, no, it doesn't
What?
seem mentally well.
He's volunteering on a suicide mission, like right after the man that he loves died in front of him
Yeah.
15 minutes ago."
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. I just was like, no. Kirk's argument still stands.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it, I'd heard bloodworms before
Yeah, they
in other
mentioned them.
Star Trek stuff. I've heard them mentioned before, so I still didn't know a lot about them, and it was actually pretty entertaining to me to learn like some of the history behind it. For example, them being made like a doomsday weapon,
Yeah.
and why it is that you don't want bloodworms to get loose.
Yeah, that's true. I think generally like these episodes fits very well with the rest of the Star Trek canon. Like it could be like, yeah, that's the explanation for bloodworms.
hmm
Yeah.
we got to see a couple of other new cast members. For some reason, I didn't remember Fontana. I don't know if she showed up in the previous episodes, the nurse, but she was. Dr. McCoy relied on her basically to like he would have relied on Chapel to take all his instructions and go forth and organize and get everything ready.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't remember Peter Kirk's roommate. I don't know if he was new, the Vulcan.
Yeah, I don't remember him. I don't remember him previously either.
I think Freeman was obviously brought in as a new brief new character,
Yeah,
as Peter's boyfriend,
yeah,
then fiance. But we did get to see some like the regulars, DeSalle. I think Lieutenant Kyle was at the helm. There was Rand. Uhura had an interesting interaction in the mess hall with some of the crew. I took note of that because I don't think it's often we see like in the original series that, if at all, that the crew comes forward voicing their concerns about Kirk not following directive from command.
yeah,
So they're like, hey, we hear Kirk is not going to destroy the Copernicus and actually bring the infected onto the ship, and we're really worried that that's not going to work out well. And then Hoover is the one who makes a speech to them about, this is what we do. We are out in space to take risk, and
yeah,
Kirk has proven to us time and time again that he makes the right calls, and we don't leave people behind.
yeah. It's a nice callback to the "Risk is our business" speech.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Uhura got more lines.
yeah. That was nice. I mean, she was still kind
That
of
was
a
nice.
very minor character, but yeah, that was nice.
Yeah. Um, what else? Oh, I wrote down a couple of interesting tidbits.
Yeah,
Things that I don't think that were kind of like callbacks. So Scotty in the white suit, the white jumpsuit,
yeah,
made me think of the motion picture. Um, there was a very brief interlude where Kirk was on the bridge in a short sleeved uniform. And
yeah.
I paused that and I was like, I don't think I've ever seen Kirk in a short sleeved uniform. He's either shirtless or in one of his either green or, gold long sleeve tunics.
I don't remember that actually.
You should go back and look at it. It's there. It's like a minute. Blink and you miss it.
Very
He's wearing
interesting.
short sleeves. His arms are out. and then in the next scene he's back on the bridge in his long sleeve uniform.
That's also very the motion picture. Short sleeves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is, but I just don't we never saw it in the original series
yeah.
in the 3 seasons. Um, I laughed because they had actual flashlights when they were on the Copernicus, like
Yeah.
clicking them on and off. I was like, wow, that's some real high tech stuff right there. So, what did you think about? What was your take on just the whole uh, relationship between Peter and Jim
um,
from start to finish?
I think it was very interesting. I actually really liked it because I'm not sure if they are going to go back to Peter in future episodes. I hope they do. I think it's
Hmm.
interesting because um, he is kind of he doesn't want to be in Kirk's shadow. He doesn't give the impression at least that he joined Starfleet to be like the next Kirk because Kirk inspired him, even if that's what Kirk thinks. Um,
Yeah,
he seems like to be like wants to be his own person. And I like that. And
I
like
I
I
love how
also
he badmouthed his uncle, like, oh, he's so stubborn and rigid and
yeah,
you know controlling and overprotective, and I'm and then Peter Kirk actually acts like a Kirk.
yeah,
you
definitely,
know, in some of the dangerous situations.
yeah.
So it's kind of entertaining. Um,
So yeah, I would
yeah,
love to see more of them because it's obvious that Jim is very cares a lot about Peter. Um, I
the
would like
only
to see
thing
them.
that made me concerned,
Yeah,
and maybe I just should have looked this up, but when we saw Peter being saved in the original series from Geneva, um, I my impression of him was that he was much younger. And
yeah,
so when they said that he is an ensign, able to be an ensign on a starship, I was thinking, do I need to go back and do math? Because I know they're supposed season 4, this phase 2, New
Mm-hmm.
Voyages, is supposed to be a direct continuation from where they left off.
Yeah.
And the math to me was like, is he still technically should he be old enough to be an ensign on a starship?
No, I completely agree with you because you know what? Even if he wasn't, if he was old enough, which I think he wasn't because he looked like a kid. But even
Exactly.
if we assume like that he's 18 in this episode, which means that 2 years ago at the events of season
Hmm.
one he was 16.
He looked
He,
10.
yeah, but even if we assume he was 16, that means that immediately after he was rescued, he immediately joined the academy. And
Yes,
after only 2 years, he was good enough to be an ensign on the Enterprise. Sadly,
exactly. The math didn't work to me. I took it
yeah,
as for what it was. I was like,
yeah.
yeah,
The math isn't mathing, as they say.
the math isn't mathing. It's
Yeah,
correct. Thank you for validating me on that, Soda, because I didn't think I was crazy.
yeah,
I even tried to think, okay, well, maybe somehow the timing is off in when this takes place, and it's like the second 5-year mission. But even then, the math still didn't math to me. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, if it's the
okay.
second 5-year mission and it's the first year of the second 5-year mission, I can buy that. If it was like 12, so 12 or 13, let's say, in
But then he's
the
like really precocious to be moving up through the ranks.
yeah, he is very good, I guess. Well, he is a Kirk, so maybe maybe the nepotism is doing some heavy lifting for him.
Yeah. But interestingly, he did mention he met Alex, his boyfriend, in the academy. So Alex couldn't have been that old either.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, it
Alex
could
helped
be
him
like
pass some courses.
yeah,
But Alex was a lieutenant, obviously, on the show or on
yeah,
this episode,
yeah.
with probably at least a year or two on a starship experience.
Yeah, as I said, the math isn't mathing. So I have a question. Since this episode was supposed to be originally a Next Generation episode, and in the Next Generation, the Klingons and the humans are no longer at war. Basically, how do you think it would have affected the plot, and also who would have the bloodworms been used against instead of the Klingons?
Not, I guess I would just diss on Section 31 and say it's still plausible that Section 31 would want a back pocket, advantage over any other race that might be a threat against the Federation. So it's probably technically possible they would still be trying to find a way to turn the bloodworm infestation to their advantage. And so maybe if you didn't even have to have like an enemy around, um, you didn't have to have the war piece like, hey, let's go, wipe out our enemies. It would just be, we're doing this research and all hell broke loose
Yeah,
because we were messing with something that we couldn't quite, we didn't know how to control, and almost unleashed it on into space
yeah,
because we didn't take the danger serious enough or prepare enough for it. So I think they could still do the episode. It just wouldn't have to be targeted at an outside enemy, like as a reason why they went that direction
yeah.
to
But
mess with the
I
bloodworms.
do think it was like a specific plot point, like a message part of the episode.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I think it would have been diminished if there wasn't like aimed at someone. I could
Well,
see it
right.
maybe.
It
Yeah,
would be diminished, but it would still be a message that there are, like, even within the Federation and within Starfleet itself, there are always people with other agendas, and sometimes we have to save ourselves from ourselves.
yes.
Um,
I mean, if it
and that
was,
would,
yeah,
yeah.
I think it was, if it was like early seasons, Next Generation, it was probably going to be the Ferengi because they were like the go-to
Mm,
enemies
yeah.
at that time. Maybe if it was late stage Next Generation, they could have done the Cardassians. I guess both would fit.
Yeah. Or maybe it could just be Q. Like Q just sends the Enterprise over there uh because he's like, "Hey, let's see what Picard does when we, throw some bloodworms into the mix."
Yeah, but like I said, that makes it less impactful.
Of course it does.
Yeah,
It does make it less impactful. Obviously, like I said, Kirk gave a couple of speeches throughout Blood and Fire, and towards the end especially. Um, like his ending note was, space is not the final frontier; it's our own souls. So basically, us trying to be better than we are,
yeah,
and
hmm
be more compassionate and more peaceful than we, even than we propose or think we are with our enemies. So a lot of
yeah,
inner reflection. I like those messages. I just don't see how, even with the Ferengi as a replacement enemy, I just don't see how the next generation would have pulled it off with the
yeah,
right message.
yeah. I think, well, maybe it's we know the episode was rewritten to fit t-
Yeah.
the original series sort of plot
Hmm.
structure and everything. Um, so who knows? Maybe it was maybe this whole angle wasn't there originally.
Yeah.
Because originally it was mostly devised to be like sort of a take on the AIDS crisis, and the AIDS crisis wasn't like created in a lab or something.
Right.
Yeah,
I think what's interesting is timeline wise, you probably could have fit this into the Discovery plot line
yeah. Honestly, yeah, you could have.
because they were at war with the Klingons and they were losing at some point, and they could have been like, well, let's just unleash the doomsday bloodworms.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess the only drawback is that Discovery doesn't really do single one-off episodes.
Yeah, no. But I mean, kind
Yeah,
of within the when they truly might have needed a back pocket advantage,
yeah,
other than the other ones they thought they had, like the spore drive, etc.
yeah,
This could have been, a darker turn
yeah. Exactly.
to win the war.
Overall, yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this episode.
It's not that I didn't like some of the previous episodes. We watched 3 already. This one was the first one that felt pretty cohesive to me
Yeah,
as a original series like plot. Maybe it just benefited from, doing it as an hour and a half and like putting those 2 episodes together and getting to tell a more fulsome like story. I don't know.
yeah,
But I
it's
think it had
possible.
most of the right elements in it. I mean, to be honest, even the Klingons like being there just as the peanut gallery was kind of original series, like it's a trope, right? We have plenty of
Yeah,
other original series episodes where the enemy of some kind is, or someone is a third party in the background watching what the
yeah,
others are
but
doing.
yeah, but I don't remember them being like this, like pointless. I guess I can say.
I think they just like having their own Klingon, kind of like their own Klingon that Kirk keeps encountering, because obviously this is his like 4th appearance in within the first 5 episodes of New Voyages. That's a lot.
Hmm
I looked it up, so I was like, how many times have we seen Kirk now?
I think like twice, maybe.
Yeah, this was the 3rd or 4th one,
Well, I
according
don't
to
think it
his.
was the fourth one. I don't think he appeared in every episode.
It said he appeared in episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, really? So I guess I
Yeah,
forgot one. Yeah.
I think I
Okay.
forgot one too because I remember 2. But anyway,
Yeah.
so this was technically his 4th, but it's also I think his last one.
hmm
So there may be one more episode, but I think it's later on. I have to say, I think James Cowley as Kirk has definitely grown on me. I appreciated his performance more, even more, I think, in this episode.
Yeah, honestly, I think he's always been good. I like him. I like his
Yeah,
version of Kirk.
yeah. He takes it seriously. I like it. I
Yeah,
enjoyed the part where Peter was, mimicking his uncle and did the Shatner
yeah, that was great. That was great.
That was entertaining.
Yeah,
Um, I did like the new actor for Spock.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sadly, I looked it up, and these are the only episodes he's in.
Mm,
Yeah.
right.
But yeah, but he is very good. I mean, at first I was kind of skeptical because he both looks and sounds different from the previous
Hmm.
actor, but he really nailed it, especially the sassiness. He was very
Hmm.
sassy in both his tone and also his facial expressions.
Yeah. Um, I like the Chekhov actor from that previous episode where we actually had Walter Koenig come and play the older version.
Yeah,
But he's still consistently good at being a Chekhov.
yeah.
I
I
have
mean,
to say.
most of the actors are very good in these
Yeah.
episodes. Yeah, and they all take it seriously. I think they all, as David Gerrold said, they all very respectful of the source material. They really love the source
Hmm.
material. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those were our thoughts, I think.
I think that was it. It was
Yeah.
a good watch.
Yeah, it was a very good watch.
I mean, I know we'll continue to watch new Voyages. How many episodes are in the fourth season? What they
10.
call this season four?
10. So we are halfway through.
So we'll have to make sure we come back and do a couple more episodes relatively soon.
Yeah.
All right, I believe that's it for our review of this two-parter episode, Blood and Fire. Um, Thank you to everyone for listening to us chat about it. And as we mentioned, we'll continue to do a periodic watch of these episodes from the fan series New Voyages.
Yeah. Thank you for listening and goodbye.